I became someone's wife for all the wrong reasons, and I knew it the second I said, I do. The worst part, everyone clapped. My name is Rachel, and 6 months ago I married a man I didn't love to hurt the man I did. I'm writing this at 3 a.m. while my husband sleeps in the next room, snoring softly like he always does, completely unaware that his wife is a monster. Or maybe knows. Maybe that's worse. Let me back up. 2 years ago I met Daniel at a coffee shop in Portland. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the universe when he looked at you. We fell hard and fast. Within 3 months, we'd moved in together. Within 6 I was already imagining our wedding, our kids, our life. He was a graphic designer, passionate about his work but even more passionate about us. Or so I thought. Then, 14 months in, he came home and told me he'd met someone else at a work conference. Just like that, clinical, apologetic but firm. He said he owed me honesty, and that staying would be unfair to both of us. I remember thinking how noble he sounded while he was destroying my entire world. He moved out that weekend. I didn't eat for 5 days. I lost 12 pounds in 3 weeks. My friends rallied around me with wine and rage, telling me he was garbage, that I'd dodged a bullet, that someone better was coming. But none of it helped. I felt like I'd been carved out from the inside. At his family's annual barbecue 2 months later, the one I was definitely not invited to anymore, his brother Marcus texted me. We'd always gotten along at family events, had each other's numbers from a group chat. He said he was sorry about what happened. Said Daniel was an idiot. Said I deserved better. I was so empty, so angry, so desperate to feel anything other than discarded. We started texting, then meeting for coffee. Marcus was different from Daniel in almost every way. Quieter, more stable, an accountant instead of an artist. He listened when I vented about his brother. He never pushed, never made it weird. Until one night 3 months after Daniel left, Marcus kissed me in his car after dinner. And I let him. Not because I wanted him, because I wanted Daniel to know what it felt like. I told myself I'd end it, that I was just processing my grief in an unhealthy way. But then Daniel found out we were seeing each other. His mom let it slip at Sunday dinner, and apparently he lost it. Called Marcus furious. Accused him of betraying him, of going after his ex out of spite. And something in me lit up at that. Daniel was hurt. Daniel was angry. Daniel, who'd walked away from me like I was a Netflix subscription he didn't need anymore, suddenly cared. So when Marcus asked me to be his girlfriend a week later, I said yes. When he introduced me to extended family as his partner, I smiled and held his hand. When Daniel stopped coming to family events to avoid seeing us, I felt victorious. Marcus was kind to me, patient. He knew I was still healing. He never pressured me for more than I could give. He told me he'd had feelings for me even before Daniel and I broke up but would never have acted on them. He said he felt guilty but also like maybe this was meant to be. I let him believe it. 7 months into our relationship, Marcus proposed. We were at the coast watching the sunset. He'd planned this whole romantic thing, with a picnic and a handwritten letter about how I'd changed his life. I said yes because saying no would mean admitting what I'd done. Admitting I'd used him. Admitting I'd become the villain in someone else's story. The wedding was 4 months later. Small ceremony, mostly his family. My friends came, the ones who'd supported me through the breakup, and they all seemed so happy for me. You really bounced back, one of them said, and with an upgrade too. Marcus is so steady. Daniel didn't come, sent a card with Marcus's name only on it, nothing for me. I told myself it didn't matter that I'd won, but standing at the altar, looking at Marcus's face, all open and trusting and in love with someone I was pretending to be, I felt something crack inside me. He was a good man. He didn't deserve this. He deserved someone who loved him the way he loved them. I wasn't that person. I said my vows anyway. Kissed him when the officiant told us to, smiled in all the photos, danced at the reception. His mother cried and told me she was so happy to have me as a daughter-in-law, that she'd always thought I was perfect for the family. I wanted to scream. That night, in our hotel room, Marcus fell asleep holding me, whispering about how happy he was, how lucky he felt, how he couldn't wait for our future. I lay awake until sunrise, staring at the ceiling, realizing I'd just legally bound myself to a man I didn't love to hurt a man who didn't care anymore. The revenge I'd wanted tasted like ash. 3 months into the marriage I still can't sleep most nights. Marcus has started asking if I'm okay, if something's wrong. I tell him it's work stress. He believes me because he wants to. Because he loves me. We have sex once a week like clockwork, and I feel like I'm betraying him every time even though I'm his wife. I'm going through the motions of a life that looks perfect from the outside. We got a dog, we're saving for a house. His family includes me in everything, and Daniel, I barely think about him anymore. The anger has faded into something worse, indifference. I ruined my life and Marcus's life over someone who's just a guy I used to date. Last week I saw Daniel at a grocery store. He was with someone, a woman with short dark hair. Laughing at something he said. He looked happy. He saw me, gave a polite nod and kept walking. That was it. No drama, no confrontation. I was just someone he used to know. I went home to my husband, who'd made dinner and was excited to tell me about a new client he'd landed. He asked about my day. I lied and said it was fine. That night, I locked myself in the bathroom and cried for the first time since the wedding. Not for Daniel, for Marcus, for what I'd done to him, for the fact that he still doesn't know. A few days ago, Marcus mentioned wanting to start trying for kids. His eyes were so bright when he said it, so full of hope. I told him I wasn't ready yet, that I wanted to wait. He said of course, whatever I needed. Kissed my forehead, told me there was no rush. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. I can't tell him the truth. It would destroy him. His relationship with Daniel is already strained because of me. If he knew I'd never loved him, that I'd married him to hurt his brother, it would annihilate what's left of their family. But I also can't keep living this lie. Every day I wake up next to him, I feel the weight of it pressing down on my chest. Every time he looks at me with love, I feel like I'm stealing something I didn't earn. My friends think I have it all figured out, Marcus's family thinks I'm the best thing that ever happened to him. Even my own mother told me recently how proud she is of how I turned things around. After Daniel, nobody knows I'm drowning. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way I stopped being the victim of a breakup and became the villain of a much worse story. I used a good man's feelings to wage a war against someone who'd already moved on. And I won nothing except a marriage that feels like a prison I built myself. The thing about revenge is they don't tell you this part. They don't tell you that once you get it, once you hurt the person who hurt you, you're not magically healed. You're just someone who's hurt people now too. And the worst part, I didn't even hurt Daniel. Not really, I just hurt Marcus. And myself. I keep waiting to fall in love with my husband. I keep hoping that if I just try hard enough, if I'm patient enough, the feelings will come. That's possible, right? People grow to love each other. Arranged marriages work out sometimes. But I don't think that's what this is. I think this is just me trying to justify what I've done. Trying to make it okay that I married someone as a weapon. Last night, Marcus rolled over in his sleep and put his arm around me. He does this every night. And every night, I lie there rigid, feeling like an imposter in my own life. I wanted revenge on Daniel for breaking my heart. But I'm the one who can't sleep at night. It's been 11 months since I wrote that first post. I'm back because everything fell apart and I need to tell someone. Even if that someone is just the void of the internet. Marcus found my Reddit post 6 weeks ago. I'd been careless, left my laptop open. He was looking for a recipe I'd saved and saw the browser tab. I know this because when I came home from work that day, he was sitting at the kitchen table with my computer in front of him, his face completely blank. He didn't yell, didn't throw anything, just asked, very quietly, "Is this true?" I could have lied. Part of me wanted to. But looking at his face, at the way his hands were shaking, I couldn't. After almost a year of lying, I was suddenly, desperately tired of it. So I said yes. He asked me to leave. Not angry, not crying. Just asked me to pack a bag and go. Said he needed time to think. I went to my friend Jenna's house. She asked what happened. And for the first time I told someone the whole truth. I watched her face change as I talked. Watched the sympathy turn to confusion, then to something like disgust. "Rachel," she said when I finished. "What the fuck?" Not a question. A statement. She let me stay that night but asked me to find somewhere else the next day. Said she needed to process what I'd told her. I never heard from her again. I ended up at my mom's, told her Marcus and I were having problems. She said all marriages go through rough patches, that I needed to fight for it, that I was lucky to have found someone so stable after Daniel. I didn't have the energy to explain. Marcus called 3 days later, asked me to come to the house, said we needed to talk. I thought maybe, somehow there was a chance, that he'd forgive me. That we could work through it. I was wrong. When I got there, Daniel was sitting in our living room. My stomach dropped. Marcus had told him everything. Daniel looked at me the way you'd look at a stranger who'd cut you off in traffic, mildly annoyed but mostly indifferent. He said he'd come because Marcus asked him to, because despite everything, Marcus was his brother. Marcus explained very calmly that he'd told Daniel the truth about why I'd started dating him. About the revenge. About how I'd used their fractured relationship as a weapon. Daniel just nodded. Then he turned to me and said, "I'm sorry you were hurt when we broke up, but what you did is fucking insane." That was it. No anger, just disappointment. Like I was a problem he was grateful he no longer had to deal with. Then he left. Marcus handed me divorce papers he'd already filed. He'd already talked to a lawyer. "I loved you," he said. His voice finally cracked. "I really, genuinely loved you, and you used me to hurt someone who didn't even care anymore." I wanted to argue. To tell him I was trying. That I'd hoped I could learn to love him. But all of it sounded hollow even in my head. He asked me to be out of the house by the end of the week. Said he'd already talked to his family. I didn't need to worry about facing them. That part broke me more than I expected. His mom, who'd welcomed me so warmly. His sister, who'd asked me to be in her wedding. They all knew now. They all knew what I was. The next few weeks were a blur of packing and lawyers and paperwork. Marcus was fair, more fair than I deserved. We didn't have much to split anyway. He kept the house. I took my stuff and moved into a studio apartment across town. My phone got quiet. Friends who'd celebrated my wedding stopped responding to texts. I'd check social media and see them together at brunches and game nights I wasn't invited to anymore. Nobody said anything directly. They just quietly edited me out. Jenna posted something vague about toxic people and red flags you ignore. I knew it was about me. So did everyone else. Work became unbearable. I'd been open about my rope patch with a few coworkers, and somehow the full story made its way around the office. People were polite but distant. I'd catch them whispering, stopping when I walked by. One of the senior managers pulled me aside and suggested I might want to consider my options. Said the energy I was bringing was affecting team morale. I was fired 2 weeks later. They called it restructuring. I applied to dozens of jobs. Most didn't respond. The ones that did seemed to lose interest after calling my references. I still don't know what Marcus said, if anything. Maybe he didn't have to say anything. Maybe the truth was enough. I burned through my savings in 3 months. Had to borrow money from my mom for rent. She asked fewer and fewer questions as time went on. I think she figured it out, or at least figured out it was worse than I'd told her. The worst part wasn't the practical stuff. It was the isolation. I'd scroll through social media and see Marcus in photos at family gatherings. He looked tired but okay. His brother was in some of them too. They were rebuilding. I destroyed their relationship but they were fixing it without me. I wasn't in any photos. Nobody tagged me. Nobody checked in. I was just gone. 6 months after Marcus asked me to leave, I ran into one of his cousins at Target. She saw me, her face hardened, and she turned her cart around and went down a different aisle. Like I was contagious. I realized then that I hadn't just lost Marcus. I'd lost an entire community of people who'd welcomed me. And I'd lost them because I'd weaponized their love. My therapist, the one I finally started seeing when the insomnia got bad enough that I was hallucinating, asked me why I thought I'd done it, why I'd married Marcus. I gave her the easy answer at first, that I was hurt, that I wanted revenge, that I wasn't thinking clearly, but she pushed, asked me what I thought I'd get out of it. And I realized I thought I'd get Daniel back. Not literally, but emotionally. I thought if he saw me with Marcus, saw me happy, saw me as desirable, he'd regret leaving me. He'd realize what he'd lost. Instead, he barely noticed. Revenge I'd craved so desperately hadn't even registered to the person it was meant for. I detonated a bomb in my own life for an audience that wasn't watching. I got a new job eventually. Freelance work, remote, pays barely enough to cover rent. I don't make friends with clients, keep everything professional and distant. My mom and I talk once a week. She doesn't ask about Marcus anymore. I think she's relieved she doesn't have to pretend to understand. I'm not on social media anymore. Deleted everything 4 months ago. It was too painful to see everyone else's lives moving forward while mine felt stuck. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. Marcus didn't come to the hearing. Neither did I. Our lawyers handled it. I got the paperwork in the mail with a post-it note from his lawyer. He wishes you well. Even in ending it, Marcus was kinder than I deserved. I've tried to date, downloaded apps, went on a few coffee meets, but I can't do it. Every time someone shows interest, I feel like a fraud. Like I need to warn them somehow that I'm not a safe person to care about. One guy asked me why I seemed so closed off. I told him I was going through a divorce. He asked if I wanted to talk about it. I said no. He didn't text again. Last week I saw Daniel one more time. He was at a park with a woman from the grocery store and a toddler. Their kid, I assumed, though I don't know for sure. He looked content. He looked like someone who'd moved on years ago. He didn't see me. I went home and cried, not because I still loved him, but because I'd wasted so much time trying to hurt someone who was never thinking about me at all. I'm 32 now, I'm divorced. I have no close friends, I have a job that pays my bills but nothing more. I have a mother who loves me but doesn't understand me. I have a studio apartment with barely any furniture and a cat I adopted because I couldn't stand the silence anymore. And I have a past that follows me everywhere. People say time heals all wounds, but I don't think that's true. I think time just teaches you how to live with the scar tissue. I hurt a good man because I wanted to hurt a mediocre one. I destroyed a marriage before it even had a chance. I used someone's love as a tool and then acted surprised when it broke. The worst part is I can't even say I've learned my lesson. I mean, I know intellectually what I did was wrong. I know I hurt people. I know I was selfish and cruel. But late at night when I can't sleep, I still sometimes wonder if things would have been different if I'd just been better at faking it. If I'd tried harder to love Marcus. If I'd kept my mouth shut and played the role. And that thought scares me more than anything else. Because it means part of me still doesn't get it. Part of me is still that person who thought other people's feelings were collateral damage in my personal war. My therapist says I need to forgive myself, that I can't move forward while I'm stuck in shame. But I don't know how to forgive myself for something I'm not sure I fully regret for the right reasons. I regret hurting Marcus, I do. But I also regret getting caught. I regret that it didn't work out. I regret that my revenge didn't even land. And that makes me a worse person than the one who just made a mistake. I wanted revenge on my ex for breaking my heart. So I married his brother. Now I'm the one who can't sleep at night. And I'm starting to think I never will again. Some mistakes don't destroy you all at once. They just make sure you'll never heal the same way again. If you're reading this and thinking about doing something similar, about using someone to hurt someone else, please don't. Not because it's morally wrong, though it is, but because the person you'll hurt most is yourself. And there's no revenge that's worth that price.